is recorded in full HD in stereo. So if there's any issues with sound or video, don't worry, I'm going to be posting a video later on my YouTube channel. Also, while you guys are there, if you don't mind just dropping me a subscription on YouTube, that'd be really useful. I'd appreciate that. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a reference. This is how I do my structures. I'm just going to draw 4 kicks in. And I like to do a loop to bar 9, apologies, and then just keep going. Now, I've got a little trick that I use and what I teach my clients, and it's basically copying another track and copying the structure. But in this time, we've not got much time, so I'm just going to crack on and kind of do it myself. I know roughly how it should be by now, so yeah. Have a nice long breakdown. Obviously, I'm concentrating on this, so please bear with me to get the questions. I'll stop every couple of minutes. If you guys have got questions, things like that, then we're good. Somebody just said it's not mono, and that makes sense because I'm showing everything that is in stereo, but you never know with these things. You just never know. Right, so let's get cracking on. So I'm just making a rough structure. I always like to get the structure done because if you think about it, if you get your remix parts, you put them in, you can get really lost. So for me, it makes much more sense to just get the structure in. Then we can put our remix parts straight in there. So there you go. That's a typical structure. So look how long it is. Just a bit slower. So 6 minutes, it's a bit short, but it'll do for today. So we've got our structure done. Now what you've noticed is there's no kicks in there yet. However, when I come to do the kicks, a little trick I did was draw the kicks in already. So when it comes to me doing the kicks, it's going to be nice and easy for me to just throw them in there. Do you know what I mean? So nice and simple. Let's quickly do a little Instagram video. Instagram haul. What's up, guys? Currently live on YouTube. Come and join, come and check it out. It's on my YouTube page. Just type in Adam Ellis DJ on YouTube. We're doing a live stream now on Logic. So yeah, this is my Instagram voice. Right, so let's get cracking on. Yeah, listen, guys, give me a follow on Instagram. Give the Illicit Experience a follow. Sharing's caring and all that kind of crap. Listen, I'm not going to lie, the reason people do these kind of videos is for promotion, but at the same time, I genuinely do love helping people out, and teaching is my passion, so it's great to give something back while at the same time getting something in return, and that's the honest truth, so yeah, I was trying to say a fancy saying then. Right, so we've got our structure, let's get some remix parts in. Get down. Point is saying it's question marks. Point PI. I'm not sure. Is everyone else getting... I don't know. Voice is too quiet. That should be sorted now. So is the sound coming through mono or stereo? Is it just to the left? Is it to the right? Is it in the middle? What's going on? Either way, there's not much I can do about it right now. We'll figure that out for the next time. But remember, this is recorded in HD via ScreenFlow right now. So don't worry about it. You can watch it back, I guess. Right, remix parts. See, most people would have all this kind of stuff set up already, but my ethos is, and I'm completely different to most people, is I would like to show you guys the real life kind of tuition. There's no point in me sitting here getting everything organised and not showing you guys the backbones of how it works. It's pointless. I like to show people what it takes for a real producer to make his tracks, Struggling to find remix parts here. Should have probably got the remix parts. There we go, this will do. Right, so we've got leads, mids, pads. Right, for me, it's really important when you're doing stuff. Again, it's all about organization and workflow. And at this kind of level, these things matter, you know? So let's open up the Substack, the leads, and the pads. Let's get the leads in the leads, obviously. Let's get the sub in the sub. So we're going to use a sub drone. I've no idea what this track is, by the way. Not got a bloody clue. In fact, you know, that looks a bit... No, just compare. Yeah, that matches. So let's go straight here. There we go, some sound at last. Tell you what, fuck this one off. I have no idea what it is. Here we go. Right. Telic. Here we go. MIDI files. Perfect. Main riff is going to go on the leads, which is now being closed for some stupid reason. Let's put it in the breakdown. Right, perfect. So the first thing for me is getting all the parts in there, right? Job done. So let's get the drone in there. Lovely. And we'll just go for the pad, the main pad for now. I don't think I opened the pad stack actually, which was a mistake. No, I did actually. There you go. Right, so perfect. Now we're going to put them across the track. Now, because we've done the structure already, we know exactly where things are going to go. So it makes life so much easier. There we go. Right, now as a rough guide, I always say that the sub drone should be around -14. So that means that it should peak around -14. Now, let me explain something. How I make my music, I set the kick so it peaks at -8. Therefore, when you mix your sub bass to the kick, it's roughly, and I say roughly because it all depends on what sub you're using, what sound, how it's processed, but it's roughly peaking around -12. Therefore, for your breakdown, you want your breakdown to be a little bit quieter. So when it kicks back in, boom, you've got that extra bit of volume. So therefore, if our sub bass is roughly around -12, it makes sense that our sub drone is around -14, which is a couple of decibels quieter. So what I like to do is I like to open the sub drone. And I do use some different ones, but this one is a tried and tested one. If you are a Logic user, feel free to drop me an email at tutorials@adamellisdj.com. The information is in the link, I believe. If not, I'll post it after. And I'll send you anything you want from this lesson. Happy to share things. But yeah, look, I like to set the cutoff filter just about halfway. You don't want it all the way up, but you don't want it all the way down. Set it just roughly so you can hear it nicely. Loop the region and play it all the way through. Now this is a sub bass, so we don't need any high ends, but we'll give it a little bit more. Way too loud, obviously, so... And like I said, we're looking for around -14. Now, I might not be able to go that low today because it means... Oh, actually, no, I can. Ignore me. I'm talking out my arse. Right, it seems that everything's just coming through the left, but if we look at Logic, I've got left and right. So it's not, sorry, it's not this. It must be the interface. It must be OBS. Does anyone know how to use this piece of shit? Honestly, it's shocking. There's no settings for it. That's what's annoying. How about, I'll tell you what, I've tried a built-in microphone. It's not going to be as good quality, but let's see if audio is left and right. At least that'll be a bit better. Right, testing. Let's just try. How's that, guys? Is the sound coming through both left and right? I am now using the built-in speakers, so that the still only the left side, really? Wow. Well, that's strange. Well, let's switch back to the mic. Let's go back to the universal audio. Desktop audio, testing. 1, 2. Settings. Output audio. Stereo. Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. We'll have to just figure it out, I guess, left next time. I'm not sure why. Like I said, I've said it a couple of times now, but this is recorded in stereo, so stick with it because, you know, you get to see a live stream and you can ask live questions. Tell you what, fuck me. Let's go. I'm the clumsy bastard. Let's go through a couple of questions. So, any questions, guys, just feel free to ask. I know we've not really done much, but point P, I'm not ignoring the fact that we can only hear the left side. I'm trying to do a lesson, so with all due respect, obviously I knew that 20 minutes ago, but there's nothing I can do about it. But it could be because it's not a stereo input. No idea. It actually hurts. Point P, you're a moaning bastard. Giovanni. When you have your kick routed to a bus, should the kick be peaking at -8? Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where the kick's routed, and it doesn't matter what's on it. You could put 7,000 bits of processing on it. At the end of the day, it wants to be at -8. And that's just the way I do it. But if you set your kick to -8, put your output slider to -5, then by the end of the track, when it's all said and done, if it's mixed correctly, you should have at least -3 decibels of headroom. So it's kind of a fail-safe way to do it. Now, in this case, I've turned the stereo output up a little bit, just so you guys have got a bit more volume. Right, so let's get cracking anyway. So the idea now is that we've done our structure, so we know where things go. After that, we want to put our remix parts in, which we've done. Secondly, we want to put a basic sound to them and just test that the remix parts work. Now, I know that this sub drone is a great drone, but what I've done is I've gone through and I've noticed that the notation, the octave wasn't quite right, so I've had to go through and just sort the octaves out. Now, I'm going to answer all the questions at the end because I'm getting sidetracked by people moaning and there's nothing I can do about it right now, so we'll just crack on, alright? Right, so we've got the sub drone. It's roughly peaking at -14. Lovely, so that's going to sound good. Right, now let's have a look at the pad. Again, this is all just about testing the MIDI. Now, I know this MIDI is good, but just for the sake of arguments, I want to show you guys how I do it, so. Sounds good. Now let's test the MIDI for the lead. Again, 90% of the time, this is not going to be a problem. But if you're like me and you like get MIDI packs from random places like Nonstop 2K, a lot of them are fucked up. So you have to test them and make sure that everything works. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. The next process is a little bit more fun, and we'll explain that after. Awesome. Perfect. So what we've established is that all the MIDI parts are working fine. And now what we need to do is put a basic sound to each one. Now what I do when I make music, and it's very important that you don't become lazy doing this, but I've got a template. And what I do is I set up a template, and for every basic sound, like a lead, a pad, a sub, I've just got a typical sound that I'll always use. However, it's really important that you layer that sound up, or at least change it if you don't want to layer it. So each time you make a track, it's different. The last thing we want to do is be a template producer where all your tracks sound the same. And I'd love to see you and name a couple, but I don't want to cause any grief. I've caused enough shit in the trance scene over the last couple of fucking months. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut for once. But yeah, listen, don't be lazy. Don't be a template producer. Be a bit more creative. But saying that, if you find a sound that's solid, feel free to use it, man. Like, look, I've used the same sub bass in every track for the last 10 years. Doesn't mean all my tracks sound the same. It's how you approach things. Right, next step is sound selection. Like I've said, choosing a sound that works. Now, as a producer, when I was coming through for so long, for many years, what I used to do is I used to do a part and then move on, do another part. Oh, I can't get the leads to sound good, so I'll leave it and I'll come back later. Blah, 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 blah. So it's really boring and it's really shit doing that. So a really simple thing to do, and a way to improve as a producer, is work on one thing at a time and get that thing to sound good and then move on. So a really nice way of doing things is, once you've done the structure and you've put your parts in, get the first layer for your drone, your lead, and your pads sounding brilliant. Don't put a bass in that you don't have any intention on using. You know, it's fucking pointless. So the bass already sounds great. I'm not going to lie, the lead sounds good because it's one I generally use just for testing midis and stuff like that. And again, with the pad. But again, don't want to be a template producer. So let's change the pad up ever so quickly. I really like Spire for pads. And there's a great pack called Iron Zyhev or something like that. I'm not very good at pronouncing other names. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But anyway, let's have a look at the pads. Some really nice pads. Looking for something a bit dreamy. Lovely. That's nice. So now we know that the sub drone is mixed at roughly -14. And this is a brilliant way of doing it because straight away we know, right, the levels are going to be cool. And my way of making music and my way of teaching music is to start as you mean to go on. And I keep banging on about that. But if you start as you mean to go on, it means that when you come to building up a track, it sounds great from hour one all the way to until you finish the track. Well, that's the idea anyway. So now let's choose a nice cutoff filter. And we'll mix the pads over the bass. Sounds really nice. Once I found my pad cutoff frequency, I like to just make a note of it. So I'm just going to go to the cutoff, put it in latch mode in Logic. It's a really cool way of doing things. You can just move it up and down and it'll take note of the cutoff filter. So that was really fast, right? There you go. So we just know that that's going to be our peak cutoff. Let's put that down there. I'm going to explain why I'm doing that in a moment. Take it out of latch mode. Now let's mix in that lead. Something really important here. The reason why I set my pad at its loudest point was so I can judge where the leads need to be. So it could get really confusing. How do you mix your sounds? You know, where at what point should you mix them? Well, a really easy answer to that is mix them at the loudest point. Therefore, you can just do this. I've already marked the loudest point on the pad. So let's just go to Spire. Latch mode, just move it quickly. We already know the loudest point on the leads. There you go, so we can pull that down. And we can even do the same thing on the sub drone because we've worked in such a way that everything is already pre-mixed. So by mixing it at its loudest point allows us to do this. Give me one moment. We know the loudest point. The crescendo is going to be bar 113. Now if we play it, all of a sudden, everything is nicely mixed. As good as it can be on a YouTube tutorial. Awesome. So now we've got the structure done. We've got all the parts in, mixed roughly where we need to go. We've done all the automation. We've found a crescendo, i.e. the loudest point of a track. And we've just got some rough sounds in there. Now it makes sense at this point to move on and do something else. However, in this kind of lesson, there's no point giving too much away. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of layering. So layering is obviously something that I'm sure you guys are not struggling with, but maybe curious about. Also, hello to everyone. I'm just going to answer some questions. Try this, Adam. Click on the little cogwheel. Let's have a little bash at this. Courtesy of Paul. So for the microphone, obviously you mean. Click advanced properties. There's just properties, unfortunately. See, there's nothing there. Unless I'm doing that wrong, look. If I go on filters, maybe. No. There's nothing there. It's weird. I wonder if it might be in these settings instead, mate. Let's have a little look. General. So I'm looking for down mix to mono. Oh, let's try this. Let me know. Testing. I'm just going to turn all these on. I have no idea what they fucking do, but mic enable. No, we don't want to mess about doing that. Doesn't seem like there's anything there, but we'll have a look. Oh, there's two mics coming in now. Check that out. Does that mean we've got stereo? There is no advanced. Oh, wait a minute. You mean on this preference? No, there's nothing there. Alex Kid 1, nice to meet you. Nice one, Ryan. So there's 2 audio signals now coming. Oh, there's 3 signals. Oh my god. I bet that sounds weird, right? It'd be really funny if it fixed everything. Let me know and I'll quickly turn it off if it's fucked up. So yeah, at this point in my 10-step guide, what I would do, and the 10-step guide is a method that I teach to my clients, and it's basically making a trance track, or any track, in 10 simple steps. So yeah, what we would normally do at this point is we would go and do the bass throughout the entire track. It's easy to do that because we've already got the bass here. So we put this on here, bar 33, deconstruct it, and put the bass throughout the entire track. But that's something we'll do another time. And Paul Matthew, nice one, mate. You tried your best. We'll figure it out another time. It's obviously an issue with OBS. I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah, not sure there. Right, so let's do some layering. Now, I've already chose a really nice bass sound for each layer. Now, what I mean by bass sound, I don't mean a bass as in a bass guitar. I mean the bottom layer. It's always important to build things up. Think of a house. You don't build a house by like building the walls and then putting a roof on, do you? You have to build all the foundations first. And the same applies to a trance track. And I use a lot of analogies when I make music, and it's a really good way to do things because using analogies allows the student to kind of visualize things. So the house analogy is a really good one. You build the foundations, then you put all the walls up, you put the roof on, and then you've got to go through, then you've got to decorate all the rooms, and you've got to put all the furniture in there. And that's a bit like making a track. You know, you do the kick and the bass, that's all the structures. Then you put all the parts in there. That's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like decorating. And then you've got to add all the furniture, which I say is all like the transitions, all the little acid bits. I know it's a stupid analogy, but trust me, it works really well for my clients. I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I've come up with some crackers. But the house one is the one I use the most. But anyway, the sub doesn't need layering. So let's go to the leads. And if you guys have got any questions about layering whatsoever, drop it on and I'll answer. So first things first, let's layer a nice pad in. Now this pad's lovely, but it's not really going to cut it in terms of that big kind of trance pad. It's more of an atmospheric pad. It's nice though. Layering is something that's so tricky and it takes years and years to get right, but once you crack it, it's fairly easy. Also, something that you guys might notice straight away is that straight up, adding a couple of midis, this track already sounds like a proper trance track. And now that took me years and years and years to figure out, and it's quite simple. The reason why it does sound like that is because of these 2 processing effects. Ox Acoustic Reverb and Mag EQ4. If you're struggling to get a big sound, all you need to do is buy these 2 programs, and on every single bus channel, make sure you've got a Mag EQ4, an Ox Acoustic, and a limiter. That is it, and it will sound amazing. The track I'm using for a reference track is Telic by Activa. It's a really nice track. Note dB for mastering. I don't do mastering myself. Mastering is an art form all on its own right. Cosmo, so yeah. I'll let Mark Sherry do that. Excuse me while I down my drink. So, back to layering. So let's find a sound that complements the first sound. Reverb settings, if you want to take a screenshot, I'm just going to leave it up. This is my standard Ox Acoustic Reverb setting, and it stays the same for everything. If you would like the actual setting itself, let me know. Tutorials@adamellisdj.com. I'm happy to share it. But I'll let you take a screenshot as well. By the way, for the Mag EQ4, the setting is just female vocal A. I'll just keep it nice and simple. Again, any questions, anything you want to talk about, anything you want from this lesson, let me know, and if I can provide it, I'm happy to provide it. So look, layering, right? Layering is all about building up a sound. There's no point in layering two sounds that sound the same, right? It doesn't work like that. You've got to get sounds that work together. So you might not be able to hear it too well, but you'll be able to hear it better once the recording is finished. And this second pad adds a lot. The screen is blurry. I thought that this would be in full HD, so I'm a bit pissed off about that. I need to figure out a better way to do this. You know, it's pretty cool live streaming and stuff, but yeah, I need to do more research in it. To be honest with you, I had the idea today, and I thought, you know what, I've got a bit of time tonight, so I'm going to do something for you guys. But yeah, we'll have to look into getting this perfect for next time. It's just one of the things that's super time consuming. I've just not got the time with teaching one-to-one clients, running my record label, blah 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? Do you layer lead pads first? Sorry, pads. It doesn't really matter. However, I like to build it up like this: sub, pads, leads. So I don't know. It's a psychological thing. I just feel that the sub is a drawn out note. So is the pad. So it's like a. Do you know what I mean? So I like to have the leads after that. Right. So. This pad's nice. What I've done is I've added a spreader to it. And a spreader is just a way to kind of spread things out and make it a little bit wider. Now, it's really important that throughout your track, you are writing down what your spreading percentages are or your panning percentages. Now, in a full track, I will have about 30 panning increments from 0 to 100. So that means that I'm using the full frequency available. So many people just go up and down. I mean, they completely forget that, you know, you've got always space left and right. So make sure you're using your panning. Now, over time, you'll understand what needs to be panned left and what needs to be panned right. There's no hard and fast rules. It's just a bit of common sense. So, for instance, I've got a pad. Now, I only want to spread one pad. So I'm not going to put it left or right. Therefore, the stereo spreading logic is a good way to push it left and right at the same time. Now, I've gone for 36%. I actually wrote 35, but for some reason it doesn't do odd numbers. So 36%. What it means is we're now using that stereo space around us. So if you visualize this sound, put your hands in the middle in front of you, like together, like you're praying, and then just move your hands left and right at the same time. That's what we're doing. We're pushing this sound out. And if you apply this ethos to 30, 40 channels, it's going to make your track sound much better. Also, some people are saying the screen's blurry. I believe that's down to your internet connection. I'm running about 200. In fact, let's have a look, actually. The upload speed is really important. So just have a quick look what the upload speed is. Just out of curiosity. I'll give that a second. So anyway, we've got a nice pad here. Now we want to add another one. Now I'm going to use the pad I always use for this kind of... I used to use Nexus for this sound, but I've no longer got Nexus, I'm afraid, because he fucks me over with the keygen. I lost the keygen after I bought it, and I had a massive argument with the owner, and he wouldn't send me another one. This was like 2013, so I just refused to use Nexus. But anyway, this is a similar kind of pad, and it's just a silent pad. Again, if you want it, feel free to give me a message. I'm more than happy to share it. I use the channel strips. Where is it? Lovely pad it's called. Very simple. You don't need this EQ. As you'll notice so far, I've done absolutely no subtractive EQing, which means up and down. I'll just keep it nice and simple, because less is more. You don't need to do things like that. Find sounds that work well, and you'll be laughing. So let's pull this down. Now this is the pad that's going to bring this section to life. I don't think we need that on there. I'm going to spread it a little bit, but not much, because this is going to be one of the main sounds in the track. So we don't want to spread it too much, but giving it like 25%, which is going to go to 26, which is fucking annoying. Write it down again. For many years, I didn't write it down, so I'd get completely lost. And then I thought one day, oh my God, just write it down. I mean, every time I need to pan something, I open up my notepad in Logic, and I see what's being panned. You know, when you've been doing this 12 years, trust me, shit like this makes a fucking massive difference. So, Awesome. So straight away there, we've now got a really nice pad section. It's dead simple. It consists of 3 sounds. Now the key to this is A, sound selection, B, your levels, but more importantly, it's just the processing you're using. Keep each individual layer simple, send it to the bus channel, and on that bus channel, you have an EQ, aux acoustic, and a limiter. That's it. Nothing fancy whatsoever. Now on the last pad I did add a Maggie Q4. And again, this is just a golden bit of processing. It completely changed my life using this synth, as crazy as that sounds. But it really did, because before I found aux acoustic and Maggie Q4, I couldn't make music. And all of a sudden I found these bits of synths. I was like, oh my God, like this has completely changed everything. So yeah, brilliant bits of processing software there. So far I've got this lovely pad. You know, I just noticed as well, the pad wasn't even in with the loudest point, so that made no sense whatsoever. The pad wasn't even mixed with the other pads at their loudest points, so that was a bit of a schoolboy error. So let's just quickly do that now. This is why I guess you've got to be more thorough than what I've just been. Right, so cut off. You already know the cut off filter, so there you go. Now it should sound good. There you go. Now we can hear all of the sounds. Something that you might find important is that you'll see that on all of my EQs, I cut everything above 18k. The human ear can't really hear above 18k, so it doesn't need to be there. I'm a bit conscious as well of having a bit of a bright sound. I'm really trying to warm my sound up lately. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen, because as a producer, you kind of just have a sound. But I'm a bit conscious of that, so I'm trying to just make sure if I am using a bright sound, that I kind of cut it a little bit higher. So in this case, I've cut the EQ to 15,000. If you want to know more about EQ and things like that, it's quite a complex thing when you're starting out. Essentially, it's just a way to put your frequencies where they need to be. As crazy as that sounds, and I like to use this analogy. Think of your frequencies as a chest, and in that chest there's 3 compartments. You've got your bass, your mids, and your highs. Now your bass compartment's super small. Your mids is massive. I mean, your highs, you know, it's an average size. It's not as big as the mids, but it's a lot bigger than the small. What that means is, in your low end, there's not much frequencies whatsoever. Let's have a little look. Ignore this boost. This is your low end, 0 to 200 hertz. So not much can fit in there. You're lucky if you get your kick and your bass in there. And this is why sidechaining is important, because even your kick and your bass sometimes struggle. So not much can fit in that low end. However, get rid of this stupid thing. The mids, there's absolutely loads of room. So I guess I would say probably like 200 hertz to 3,000-ish would be your mids. There's loads of room available here. And don't think of it as a visual thing. Use your ears instead. But in the mid section, you can fit loads and loads and loads of frequencies. And then in your highs, you know, it's bigger than your subsection, but still not as big as your midsection. What I'm trying to say is basically there's loads of fucking room in the midsection. There's not much in the lows, and then there's quite a lot in the highs. But I'm just trying to explain basically how an EQ works. An EQ allows you to put certain sounds where they need to be. If every single lead or an acid, well, most of them all have nasty low frequencies. So if you don't use an EQ to get rid of them, remember, nothing else can go below 200 apart from the kick and the bass. So it's important that on your sounds, you're removing all them nasty frequencies. So by having an EQ, you can remove all them frequencies, and they're no longer getting in the way of your kick and your bass. So that's pretty much what EQing is. For more information, just drop me an email. You just want to put the default on. If you just have a default setting, it's used for 90% of the sound. So yeah, actually, I forgot I turned that down to -15, didn't I? took me years to understand EQing, and in reality, if someone just explained it to me a little bit better than what I've just explained it, I'd understand it straight away. Anyway. So what should happen when you mute a sound? If you can't hear it disappear, then there's something wrong. Now in this case, I can hear it disappear, but this second pad just adds depth. It adds depth to the pad, but I'm not really hearing anything different. I feel it, I can feel it, but I'm not really hearing anything. So I just want to add one more pad that's got a completely different tone, and it's going to really finish off this sound. Omnisphere is really good for this. Let's take the spread off. We'll keep it in the middle. Perfect. I didn't turn the spread off, did I? I better turn it off on the wrong one. Yep, knew I did. Right, so that now, 4 layers, sounds really nice. Now's the tricky part, the leads. It's all well and good getting your pads in, but your pads, you know, they can be pretty nasty, like in terms of frequencies. Loads of things going weird and stuff like that, so it's going to be a bit tricky now to do this, but we'll have a little bash. How's the sound? Is I take it we're still on the left hand side, which is so annoying, but yeah, it's pissing me off that. Sorry to all you guys, like I said, it's just one of them things, I guess. Leads. Now we've got that bottom sound. Let's layer this motherfucker. So let's go to Spire. It's a nice sound. It's a little bit wooden, but it adds to the first sound. Remember, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to add to it. Now let's add a different synth. Change it up a little bit. Let's try Anna. Let's see if anything in Anna's got to offer. Oh shit. And you to using this all. Where's it gone? Bank, there you go. I wonder what was going on, man. let's not. Not really seeing any questions. I'm not sure if you guys have got any. No worries if not. It's not a problem. Organisation is key as well. I can't stress enough how being organised will change the way you work. So make sure you guys are organised. Super important. Lovely. So get all your questions in and I'll answer them all in one go. So try and think of some creative kind of stuff, you know. You got the opportunity here to see exactly how I do things. That lead's lovely. It really adds a lot of energy to it. How you build up a lead bus really is, you know, it's different sounds, a couple of plucks and a couple of layers. That's the best way to describe it. You don't really need more than 4. Fun fact, Set to Sail is 1 lead, which I thought was really funny. But yeah, this is the lead for this one. So as you can see, I actually took the delay off that. I've already got a nice delay on my channel strip, so I like to keep things simple with the delay in Logic, so in Silent Fast. So I just turned it off in this case. Also, notice again, I'm not doing nothing. Look at these leads. EQ, delay, delay, delay. Nothing fancy is going on whatsoever. I'm choosing simple sounds that work well together, that are being controlled by the bus channel, and where they come to life is quite simply these 2 synths. Well, these 2 processing effects. That's it. Nothing fancy whatsoever. For years, I've slammed 16,000 processing effects on one sound to try and get it to sound right, and it's just absolutely not needed. I can't stress enough how much less is more is so prevalent in making music. Right, we want another lead. What's this one? Is this the same? Cool. So I know what I want for this one. I always like to use this sound. Finish things off. We'll answer your questions in a couple of minutes when we're nearly done. So, Sean Tyers, lead airport. And that really is it, guys. It's really that simple. As arrogant as that sounds, you've got to remember I've been sat in front of this computer for 12 years learning this. 12 years, that's a long ass time. So for me, this is super simple, but you've got to realise for 4-5 years, I didn't have a fucking clue. Not one single clue. So if you sat here discouraged thinking, wow, I don't understand how it's so easy, just remember that over time it does get easier, and never give up, be patient, and remember, good things don't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes a long time. And look, I remember last time I did this live stream and the Thrill Seekers commented a really arrogant and knobhead comment saying, like, how to sound like generic trance. That's what he put. And look, yeah, this is generic trance. You're right. It's a generic trance breakdown. But I'm not here to teach you guys how to be Will Atkinson, who's an amazing producer, or to stand out. I'm here to teach you the fundamentals of making trance. So that's what I'm doing right now, teaching you the fundamentals of understanding MIDI kits, a bit of an idea of how to approach them, layering, do you know what I mean? Some basic things like that. So don't be sat here thinking I'm trying to teach you how to be some kind of superstar producer. I'm just trying to help you guys and teach you guys the fundamentals. And I don't mean to sound negative. I'm just saying I know there's a couple of people out there just saying, oh, here we go, another uplifting tutorial. And yeah, look, you learn the fundamentals and then you can go and be an amazing out-of-the-box producer. Do you know what I mean? That's fine. You do what you want. I'm happy writing great generic trance. I don't think my music's generic, but in terms of uplifting, it's uplifting, isn't it? I'm not trying to blow the world away. So I've done the automation. Now, one little thing to notice, you'll see on this lead, I've done a cutoff filter automation, and I've also automated the EQ. The reason for that is on some synths, when you turn the cutoff filter down, it sounds too loud. So by EQing the sound as well, it gives us the desired sound. So let's have a little look. I just want this lead bus to come in a little bit steady. So rather than fucking up the frequencies, I can just use a gain plugin just to turn it down a couple of decibels. So as I said, these are coming in a bit too sudden, so There you go, guys. That's how you import a remix part and how you basically proceed to go about putting a sound to it, checking that the MIDI is good, mixing it, and layering it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to answer all your questions in a minute. Please let me know if you've got any more questions. If you're watching this and you're not doing a live stream, again, I'm going to say it one more time. tutorials@adamellisdj.com. Let me write that down, just in case you guys can't see or hear my accent. tutorials@adamellisdj.com. So let's answer a couple of questions. Adam, would using a more thick and full pad as a main pad and a thinner one as a more moving pad be good? Yeah, Alex, that makes sense, and that's exactly how you should approach it. Now, the pad I used wasn't too bad, but there could have probably been a thicker one that I should have used. But always think of it like that. Think of it as building the house. You build the foundations first, and you move up. So it'd be absolutely crazy to try and make a track by doing all the top layers first. In my opinion, I couldn't think of anything worse. So yeah, the way you're describing it is perfect, Alex. Paul, yeah, the airband is brilliant. Andrew, where do you have your lead bus peaking roughly, Adam? So again, the only thing I take notice of is two things, I think. The kick peaks at -8. The output peaks at -5. So let's just turn it down to -5. Sorry, that's crashed. The output is turned down to -5. There you go. And that's it. You mix everything around your kick and jobs are good, and that's it. So if you said to me roughly where does it peak at, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Now, of course, I could play this through and tell you. Looks like it's about -10 decibels, but there's no point in me telling you right now because you need to use your ears. Kick peaks at -8, set your output to -5, and then use your ears. Make sure that the kick isn't drowned out. You should have at least 3 decibels of room at the end of a track. If not, then there's something wrong, and you need to find out where you're losing that headroom. So it's a foolproof way of mixing, and it's brilliant. If you mix too quietly, what happens is you have to get the mastering engineer to pull your track right out. So if you're really cautious and you're sending your track with like -10 decibels of headroom, it's going to be really tough for the mastering engineer to get the sound out he needs. So it's going to stress the WAV file. That's the way I understand it anyway. Feel free to correct me, but it makes much more sense to get the track as loud as you can, about -3, and then a good mastering engineer will make it nice and loud without killing the dynamics. And what you've seen here as well, no compression. I saw someone asking about sidechaining. No sidechaining. We've kept it simple. There's not been a single bit of subtractive EQ whatsoever. We've kept it simple, and we've let the bus channel do the work. We've used the right sounds, and that's it really. Lead bus -5. So your buses, yeah, I always say put your buses around -5, but in this case, the bus had to go all the way down to -10. Now, if it wasn't, say we put it up -5. That means that this has to be down to -10. And it's a psychological thing. I do not like mixing down at the bottom. I just can't stand it. It feels like I'm running out of room. So for me, I like to put the bus a bit quieter, if that's the case. And I like to mix a little bit higher. I'm going to have to remix that in a minute because I've just completely fucked it up. I'm going to be giving this template away in the first month of the Illicit Experience. The Illicit Experience, if you're not sure what that is, it's an upcoming subscription service on Amplified. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but it's $29.99 a month. You get 4 hours of exclusive lessons like this. You get 4 hours of lessons from my clients that I'm doing. And there's a bunch of other things which I'm not going to bore you about. It's going to be coming soon, so make sure you check it out on Amplified when you get a chance. I am also OCD, Giovanni. I can't stand it. Is it necessary that every layer must sound different? I mean, the only time it wouldn't be necessary is when you have got one sound and you're using 2 octaves. So for many of my tracks, I will have a sound that sounds amazing, and I'll use the same sound but over 2 octaves. But it's really important that you process and treat each sound differently, because at the end of the day, although it's the same sound, you want it to do a different thing. When you're changing it up an octave, it completely changes it. So it's really important that you keep that in mind. I'm totally fascinated. Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool watching other people, isn't it? Especially when you're a beginner. Like, it must be really fascinating watching someone put a track together this fast. And yes, it's not a groundbreaking track. Yes, it's probably not mixed perfect, but it's still pretty cool to see a track put together in an hour like this with all the layering and all the describing. I'm pretty sure for the first 15 minutes we're trying to figure out a mic. Could you recommend some presets on Silent, Massive? without trying to sell myself, and I'm not really bothered, I'm more than happy to give you the presets if you want it. The sound bank I did with Bluff Monkey, the Silence Bank 1 and 2 is really good. Sean Tyus bank is amazing for Spire. The Project 8 one's amazing for Spire. I don't know particular presets, I'm afraid, but I just go off banks. What about an ARP Superstore lead with many layers? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, Chris. An ARP, at the end of the day, it's still one layer. I think you're talking about octave. So if you have a look at this, that's 3 octaves. I think that's what you mean. At the end of the day, though, it's still one sound and one layer. So it makes no difference. I think I've got that right. Freshly Squeezed, pretty good. Yeah, they've got some really good stuff. If we had a reverb and a delay on a mixer channels, would it be necessary to remove the reverb and delay? That's a great question, and I addressed it earlier a little bit. Absolutely. If you've got a reverb and a delay on your channel, then 100% load up a synth and experiment with taking it off and turning it down. Because at the end of the day, the synths are great, but the effects that you're using on the channels, they're dedicated effects. So in my opinion, they're going to be better quality than the ones in the synths. Now, I might be proven wrong by that, but common sense would probably dictate that, you know, when you're paid £200-300 or dollars for a reverb, it's going to probably be better than the Silent reverb, which costs Silent costs what, €100, €200? So yeah, I would always use external processing, and I would always check the Sims processing and turn it off or turn it down if needs be. Yeah, I guess that's it. How much do I charge for tutoring? Skylab, email me. What I charge for tutoring is actually really funny because I don't charge a set amount. I let my clients tell me how much a month they can spend, and I develop a course around them. So please drop me an email, tutorials@AdamEllisDJ.com. Just to let you guys know, all one-to-one clients get the upcoming subscription service half price. And you get access to an insane amount of things, you know, not to sell myself too much. Look, if you want to know more, email me. The email is there, nice and clear. And that's about it, really, I think. Let's just have a quick look at the Amplified page. Oh, yeah, I forgot about my... fucked it now. If you go to my new Amplified page, it's not available yet, the subscription service, but the templates used is available. These templates are really cool. They're available in Logic and every other DAW, basically. We use audio for everything else. But yeah, go and check them out. They're $35 for one or free for $90. These free aren't going to be available. These are exclusive for the first free. So once the subscription service starts, you're going to get 3 of these each month, 3 templates. But these first 3 are just going to be exclusive. So yeah, go and check them out. By the way, anyone that buys the bundle at $90 gets a free half-an-hour one-to-one lesson. So it's worth going to check that out. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, a free lesson is worth about $50. So you're spending $90 and you're getting a free one-to-one lesson. And I'm happy to share everything with you guys. So yeah, look, go and check it out. I feel like I'm blabbing on a bit now. Thanks so much for your time, guys. Really appreciate it. One last thing, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build it up and share the love, and it's a bit tough to try and stand out nowadays. So listen, I'm going to shut up now. Thank you very much for this. Really appreciate you all joining me. Again, email me if you've got any problems whatsoever. Thank you very much.